Hi guys, so if you're watching this, thank you so much for watching. I have a really cool guest with me today, virtually of course, because of virus. I've got Joni with me, who's actually one of my classmates at Juilliard. She graduated May 2019 with a voice degree, and she's from South Africa originally, so she's our South African princess. And yeah, so Joan, just like thank you for like joining in, and also like before we start, like you're a New Yorker, you are in New York right now. Like, what's the general vibe up there? I mean, what are you doing to stay sane with all of this going on?
Good question. Just want to say, hey, Olivia.
Hey.
It is my pleasure to join you. It's like having we talked about this, our like weekly coffee dates or daily, shall we say, back when we were studying together. And I miss them, so hopefully this can kind of recreate that vibe.
Absolutely.
What's it like in New York right now? Well, the streets are quiet for the most part. Um, we're allowed to like, oh, the cat is, oh, we're allowed, the cat is jumping out of the window right now. It's gonna be okay, it's all right. We're allowed to go out to exercise or do like essential grocery shopping or, go to the pharmacy and stuff. And I think people are really like taking advantage of that, really doing that. I went out for a run this morning and like people are outside and like really enjoying being outside, but it's a lot less than usual.
Mm-hmm. Which is
Obviously
a good thing.
yeah. We're not like, we're asked to stay home if we can. So obviously some people are more privileged in the sense that like maybe they can afford to stay home. In that case they should.
Mm-hmm.
I think I should do my part and stay home, and hopefully there are people in my life who can like keep me supported. So
Yeah.
see.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm glad you're hanging in there. I know it's so scary to see all of the updates. You know, I've got like the CNN app on my phone, and it's just like constant updates about, numbers are increasing in New York, running out of hospital beds, and it just seems to be the epicenter of all of this. And so it's got to be a really interesting time up there. And, I was talking to my mom, I'm like, I graduated in December and left, so I just like, I feel like I got out right before all of this started, and I'm very
Right.
grateful. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. It is
Yeah.
crazy that you're like living in the epicenter of it, and in a way I not being infected by it and not knowing anyone who I'm like close to being affected by it, I feel sort of distanced. But it's so bizarre. Like I'm literally in the epicenter of this pandemic, and I feel removed from it. Like,
Right.
but I'm sure in a sense, those who are fortunate enough who've like not been touched by this disease or had a loved one be affected by it, like I'm sure we all feel that way, kind of like we're all just
Watching it happen. Yeah.
from
Yeah.
our homes and like on the phones and following the news on the reality and the facts of this. Very important. But it's pretty amazing what social media has done in this time, where like celebrities and people I follow, everyone has this message of kindness, and this idea that we're all in it together. And that's been a pretty cool message. I'm not sure exactly like what it's doing to help with the actual pandemic, but in terms of like where we're at psychologically, socially,
Mm-hmm.
being distant from each other, but then seeing people say, be kind, I love you, I'm with you, we're all in this together, is a pretty cool message.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And I just think we have to continue to be considerate of others during this time. And, that means for a lot of us staying home, and realizing that as young people, obviously the risk is lower for us, but it's about being considerate of those that we come in contact with that are at a greater risk and really staying home for them.
100%.
I just wanted to like start with you kind of giving some background about like, you know, like where you grew up and what your family's like and how you got involved in music, just like sharing a bit about yourself and your roots.
Okay. I'm from South Africa. I'm from a province, like the most northern province of the country. It's the Limpopo province, what it's called. And I grew up in a very small town called Makadu.
What's your
Like
first language?
Afrikaans.
Very cool.
And what was I going to say about Makadu? Yeah, we spent some time when I was like a baby in, I think, 2 other houses before the one that really is where like all my memories were kind of shaped, sort of outside of that town. But then there's this house that I remember as the house that I grew up in, which was just incredible. We had a dam across the street, and that is kind of where everything started happening, I think, that sort of shaped my interest in performance, maybe. My brother is like a filmmaker, especially he likes to do documentaries, and everything started over there, like in the mud, by the dam, in the reeds. We did like our versions of Survivor episodes. Yeah, he had his camera. Me and my sister were his little puppet subjects. And he would make us like fall in the mud and like make it look difficult and like I want you to cry. Just all sorts of shenanigans happened in those days, in that house, in that yard, but by that dam. I remember my brother, like this is before he knew anything about. I don't even know where technology was at this point, but like he certainly didn't have the resources. So he'd like write Survivor, he'd like design the thing on a piece of paper, and then he'd like sticky tape pieces of paper together and have like credits like created by Andrew Hofmeyr, starring Joan Hofmeyr. And then he'd have us like, he'd be filming it, like camera still, he'd have us like move the pieces of paper this way so it looks like credit. And then he would sing the theme song. He would sing it while holding the camera. He would go, it's such a bizarre, but like that's 100%, I think, where everything started. Yeah, but like, yeah, I was serious about that back in the day. Like, you find the right people, you guys feel each other and like try things. Yeah. It was definitely like a starting point. Like, okay, yeah, how does this work? Being brave about like doing weird music.
So, yeah. Like, did you always kind of dream of going to Juilliard since you started, you know, your makeshift Survivor? Like, how do you go from that to Juilliard, you know?
Mm-hmm. So, okay, lots of things. No, I didn't always dream of going to Juilliard. Of course, like Fame, the movie, inspired me a bunch. I was like, I want to be that weird. I want to be in a place where they dance on tables. And that school was like a kind of version of Juilliard, right? So like, yes, loved that. Always thought that would be my kind of vibe. But I think what happened was, if I'm being honest, like around the age of 9, I was like, I want to be a pop star. That was where my heart was at for a while. And I like told my dad, and he was like, I don't think that's gonna happen for you, Journey. Like, we're sitting here in South Africa. How's that gonna work? I don't know. It's interesting to it's interesting to like think about the reality of like what was going through his head, of like basically saying, I don't think some things are just not possible for us. And that was almost the thing. I think that was related to like being in South Africa. Like America was what we saw on our TV. You know what I mean? Like I was so influenced by American culture. It's insane. That's literally why I'm here. It's because I would watch New York, TV shows or films about New York, and I think a lot of people can relate. It's like it creates this picture for you, and it's awesome. But that becomes maybe what you strive for. The things that you see, I think you can relate to this. The things that you see are the things you want to replicate. So like, I got invested in the New York culture or the New York idea, and to be completely honest, like getting to Juilliard was almost. I'm going to say this, but it's not too crazy. I'll explain why. But it's almost a means to an end. Like I wanted to spend a significant portion of my life in New York. That was just like literally a pipe dream I had. And after the pop star thing was a little like, let's just put like my parents and family were like, you do have a voice. It was weird. I think you understand it. Like you're 9 years old and you have a vibrato. Like people are like, that's classical. That sounds classical. You can do something with this. You can get serious. You can be a serious musician. Like you can train your voice and you can take these steps. And that's a little more realistic. So I did that and I got serious about singing, and I went on this path where I was 100% invested, but I did things because I was like, I'm gonna see if I can fall in love with this. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna fall in love with opera. Then I had a whole thing that happened in like 10th grade where I was like, school got boring for me. It got too hard. I was like, I can't just go through the motions. I can't just be going through high school because I need to get my high school degree. Like, I need something to happen now. Then I had this feeling that I wanted to go away. I wanted to go to New York. Like I was in 11th grade and I was like, right now I have 2 years kind of to go, but right now is when I'm going to disrupt my life. And I didn't end up going to New York. I got into an exchange program where they like put me in Pennsylvania. I had no say in it. And that was like fantastic. Not at all what I expected.
Were you there for a year?
Yeah. 10 months, a school year. Yeah. So I was like a total rebel in that sense where I just like, Liv, you understand this, anything that was like mainstream, even if it was like the way it should be, like school, you go to school, high school starts here, and just go make it through. I was like, nah, I'm gonna do something else. So that's just always been my way. Anyway, got back from the States, never wanted to leave. Was how am I gonna get back? How am I gonna get back? Made it through school and I was like, okay, I have a voice. I want to be a performer. I want to be a singer. I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like, but I know that I can use my voice to like get where I want to be. And that's exactly what happened. I auditioned for Juilliard.
We were there together. We
were there together. You? Oh my gosh.
We went.
You know this story.
Yeah, we were on the same day of auditions. And actually, were you before me?
No, dude. You were before me.
I was before you.
Caro Mio Ben.
No. O mio Babino. We sang O mio Babino.
Oh, sorry, not Caro Mio Ben. Sorry.
We sang,
this pink dress on. Oh my gosh. Newly crowned Miss Teen Queen America. Was that 2015?
Yeah, 2015. Oh, you're frozen.
Was that for you?
Yes, 2015.
You're frozen. So like, you were just sparkling. You were so confident. You knew how to speak. You were so nice to me, and I was like, I totally intimidated by you.
I know
Totally
I was just
intimidated.
annoying. I was probably just annoying because I was like fascinated by your accent, and I was like, I'm from Georgia. I'm from Georgia. The only thing I hear is like a drawl, and this is amazing.
Yeah, I think you asked me if I was from Australia, and literally, it was like minutes before you were gonna go in, which meant that it was minutes before I was gonna go in because you were right ahead of me. And when I sit in front of an audition room, I need total silence. I need nobody talking to me. I need deep breathing because I go into a state of panic, right? That's what happens. I get paralyzed. You must understand. But that's not Olivia McMillan. You were like, oh my God, let's practice. And then tell me about this. And oh, I have to go. Like, and then you sang O Mio Babino Caro, and you did it much better than me. But it's okay.
No, I did not.
And now we're best friends.
And now we're best friends. Hey, I mean, yeah, what a story that we both sang that, went one right after the other, and we both got in. Like, I think that's nuts.
I think that's insanely nuts.
I think that's nuts. But honestly, it makes sense to me now, looking back at our relationship. But no, so like, I mean, you literally, you get into Juilliard, right? And you decide to go, and you fly a world away from home, and you know, you move to New York, which is, I mean, it's New York, and you head off to Juilliard, which is, you know, the art school, and there's so many stigmas surrounding that institution. Like, what was going through your head during that time? It's such a huge transition to make, I mean, culturally and otherwise.
Yeah. I think, in a way, having done that exchange program it's interesting. The first time you do something you've never done before, it's insane. And that feeling is never quite going to be there again. Like, it's almost a good thing. It can be good and bad, but like mostly good. We're like, okay, I floated across the Atlantic once alone. The second time I like know where to look for my boarding time, and like I know how to do this. I got this. You know what I mean? Like the second time you do it. But obviously it was different because I was coming for a significant amount of time, 4 years. And it was New York City, huge. I thought about this metaphor, Liv. It's almost like arriving in New York City was like being born for the first time, except you're 19, totally conscious. Of course, you're conscious when you're born as a baby, but like you have feelings and stuff. But I mean, you're born because you literally know no one. You literally know no one, and no one knows you. Everything is strange. So I remember that feeling very well on the plane. Gosh, I was excited. It was the thrill. It was just the thrill. I lived for that. I live for that. It's different now because it's so different now. But I used to be like super interested in the thrill and the independence of that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. But Julia. Oh, this is the other thing. I didn't really have expectations. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like of course, there's some kind of expectation. There's this expectation that like your life is gonna do something. Something's gonna happen when you go to New York and you go to the Juilliard School, a drama and dance. But I didn't have like a clear picture of exactly what I was expecting. Honestly, like I was just going. I was like, once I arrive, things are going to start happening, and I know that's going to happen. That's the only expectation I have, is that like a lot of stuff's going to happen, and it's going to be unexpected. Like, I guess I really had this picture that like, obviously I wanted to fall in love with stuff and music, and I wanted to become better, and I like wanted to fall in love with people, and like that happened. So in that way, it did fit.
Well, what do you think was like the biggest challenge that you faced while you were at Juilliard, you know?
Mm-hmm. The biggest challenge was for sure probably the uncertainty that I harbor just because of who I am, about what exactly I was doing and committing to. So you and I talked about this a bunch, and I know you understand it more than anyone that I know, because we went through it together, where first and second year I was sitting in classrooms at Juilliard, like at a desk, with like a lecturer in front of me, and I would hear like the drama students downstairs making animal noises and like doing crazy stuff. And I was like, I think that's where I want to be. I was never, for those first years especially, I was never quite convinced about opera. And you know, we're performers, like we want to be the actors as well. Like, you know, it's a little bit of that envy of like, well, am I on the right path? And like, I'm not gonna get recognized in the same way as those people are.
Well, and for people that don't know, it's like the actors at Juilliard, I mean, how would you describe them? It's like the treatment that they get, I think, is very different in some ways from the other programs, just because of their success rate. I mean, and not that the other divisions don't have a high success rate, obviously they do, right? But I mean, you're talking about just some of the most A-list alumni. So I think people are highly aware at Juilliard. People are highly aware that, you know, some of those actors are going to go on to be the Robin Williams and the Adam Drivers. And, you know, so like, there's definitely actor envy on campus. It's just, and they're the cool kids. They're the cool kids.
Exactly. You get it. We all get it. And you know, it's a shame because celebrity, you know, the whole celebrity culture is oh my gosh, a whole conversation. Like, it's difficult. Just because your face is on TV, you know, like, could be awesome, but like, of course, that's not the end all be all. And if I'm honest with myself, finding what it is that I want to like leave the world with as my contribution, it's not necessarily what I was envying about the actors. Right. You know, it's just that sense of like recognition. Everyone understands that you want that sense of recognition. It's a difficult thing to cope with. But so like from third year on, I was like a little more focused. Something happened in my brain where I was like, okay, you know what? No. Yeah, I think there was this decision that I made. I was like, no, I want to be a musician. Okay, I got it. I do want to be a musician. Even if I want to do other things later, yes, I want to be a musician first and foremost. Like, I'm sure about that. That was cool. And then I kind of went down paths, got into like jazz kind of crew, and I started hanging out at people's houses where we would do like jams, and that was really inspiring. I just got a little more into, and it wasn't opera. Whoops.
Yeah.
It's another kind of music, but I got a little more into like what was happening with the people in the music department, with the jazz department at least at Juilliard. So I got a little into that, and I got into like writing my own stuff some more. By the way, the pop star thing, I was like writing music throughout my teen years, you know, so that I like never gave up on that. And we'll talk more about that. But basically, so the question was about the challenge, and that challenge was something I'm still struggling with today, and that is, what is it that you want to contribute, to be, to create, for me, it was never, even after 4 years at Juilliard, I had hoped I would fall in love with opera, but I fell in love with like a part of it, like contemporary classical, some, not even all of it, but like some of it. And I love the act of learning music that no one has ever sung, because I don't know what you want to call it, but it's like doing something that no one has ever done is such a thing, such an important part of my life. So there's that, but then it was never going to be like straight and narrow opera road, here we come. I understand no one's like life path is similar, but in terms of what is expected sort of in the opera world, like young artist program, next, you know, Met State, like, that was never going to be me. Maybe later, maybe in some different form, but like, nah.
Well, and I know, I mean, we talked about that a lot, and just for people who don't necessarily know Joni, like, I would say that you are one of the most individuals I've ever known. I mean, from the day I met you, I mean, you have always forged your own path, whether that was with your style. I mean, you had a different hairstyle every year. Like, we called her like fashion fluid. Like, she looks different. She looks like a different person every year. And I just think in an institution where it sometimes feels like they are encouraging you to conform, right? Like, to be in the midst of someone who's such a nonconformist, I know definitely inspired me and like empowered me to kind of search for my own artistic footprint. So I just think, you know, for you to be so strongly set in what you wanted to do artistically and really refusing to, I don't want to say settle, but to fit the mold. I mean, I think you really just kind of like took the mold and like smashed it up and like threw it in the garbage, right? Like, and you know, will you talk about that some too? Like, for people who are aware of classical music and kind of what the industry is like for a classical singer, you know, there are very specific steps that you take. You know, you go to undergrad, you go to masters, you go to the best summer programs, you do a young artist program, you find management, like, you know what I, like, we all know those steps, right? So what was that like for you, realizing that, okay, number one, like maybe the standard rep for my voice type is not necessarily what I feel comfortable singing? Like what was that like, realizing that your rep wasn't going to be kind of the norm? Like what was that like, that journey?
Quite empowering, actually. When that happened, it happened basically like, I guess, was it third year or fourth year? When I saw that that was possible to go in a path that was something we had not really explored in first, second, or third year, and how I saw that there was a path available that looked kind of like that was through, you know, the 20th century opera course, history course. We were watching like 20th century operas, and like George Benjamin's Written on Skin was one that I was like, and I discovered like Barbara Hannigan. That was like, whoa, okay, there is sort of a path that has kind of been forged. So I'm not totally in the dark here, chopping stuff by myself. But it's live in a crazy way that also became like a challenge, because now you're like, oh, there are a lot of people wanting to do contemporary stuff as well. It's not like there's going to be zero competition if you go that route. It's not going to be easier. It's not going to be easier. Even if you love it, like that should make it easier. But I'm in a weird world about that at the moment, because I've applied to do some more contemporary classical music stuff for next year, and I haven't heard from the schools yet, so I don't know. Like, I almost don't want to. Like, I can't say too much. I still want to explore that part of me. Like, I'm not done with classical voice. I'm not.
Yeah.
But I know what I'm okay saying no to. And for now, I'm not doing standard rep. I'm just not.
Well, what do you think? I mean, you know how I love to talk about self-acceptance and, you know, empowerment and all of that good juice. What do you think helped you really remain true to yourself in an institution like Juilliard that is so competitive? I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to be in a setting like that where you're constantly surrounded by immense talent, right? And everyone is so good and they all appear so sure of themselves, regardless of if they really are. And like, competition is inevitable. So how do you stay true to your artistic voice? Like, how did you remain so yourself throughout all of this?
It was and still is a constant battle. Interestingly enough, there are like people that, as you mentioned, I'm fashion fluid. That is because I am inspired fluid. So like, I'm inspired by different people at different times. And I found interesting people who make me, we were talking about this yesterday, people who make you feel good about yourself and being yourself. Luckily, I found a few of those along the way to feel inspired by. So like, I mean, I don't even have to like mention my idols, but just to say that they normally have self-confidence in common. And they have like a super sure picture of themselves. And yeah, it's like taking inspiration from, and mostly I guess they're women. Seeing a woman that inspires you and seeing them just do their thing so wholeheartedly and unashamedly is like, makes me feel like I have that to offer. Never gonna be that person, but I can only be myself. You are someone who made me feel that as well. Your acceptance of me and your enjoyment of me, like my personality, it's like it carried me through our times together. Like I know, for real. It's like,
well, ditto.
Other women in your life who tell you like, you're hilarious, you're smart, why do you want to be different? You and I had these like heavy conversations about not feeling good enough. I'd still have those. I still have that yesterday. That happened yesterday. I was like crying. And then just like having a friend genuinely laugh at you and remind you that you are unique and you don't have to compare yourself, and it takes time and whatever. That's important.
Yeah, no, and I think you're so right. I think, unfortunately, and this is something like when I've done like body positive seminars, like a commonality in all of them is just talking about how we as women haven't historically done enough to support one another. There's been so much competition, and I personally think that stems a lot from men, you know, feeling like we have to compete for male attention and we have to fit into a certain mold to be satisfactory. And I think for me, like, realizing that, number one, we as women are more than just pretty faces. You know what I mean? Like, we were not put on this earth to be skinny or pretty or desirable. Like, that is not our only purpose. Realizing that we are intelligent and we think and we feel and we serve a greater purpose than just the way that we look has been huge. But I think remembering that we as women have the ability to empower one another. I don't think there's anything better than getting a compliment from another woman. You know, like hearing things from guys is like whatever, but hearing something from your girlfriend or from a woman that you really respect, I mean, there's nothing like that. And I just think it's that quote that I love, empowered women empower women. And that's so true. And I just hope that we can continue to build each other up and raise each other up, because you're so right. Like, I know for myself, without our friendship and without the incredible friendships with some of my female friends, like I wouldn't be where I am, you know. And I think being honest and open about where you are in your journey to self-acceptance, like what you said, it's like we definitely had conversations about not being enough. And, you know, sometimes it was because of guys and sometimes it was because of our own hangups, and nobody's a finished product. And I think it's so important to be honest about that and let people know it's okay to not feel good enough sometimes. It's about how do you react to that, and like what are you doing to try to change that, you know?
For sure. And as you said, no, hearing that from other people, for example, I'm going to bring up social media again. Look, it has its stuff that's like not so great, and I'm suffering from that a little now, being back on Instagram. You and I talked about it a little, but like a healthy dose of it. People being, when people, what's happening now with this pandemic, people are being the people I'm following, being a little more honest and like inviting their fans into their like home space because they have nowhere else to be posing, and being like, let's have a conversation. Like Jemima Cook from Girls, her and her husband were like just talking to people in a way. I haven't followed them for a long time, but like they, from what it sounds like, that seems pretty unusual for them to just have conversations. So what I'm saying here is seeing like Jemima, one of the people I look up to, seeing her be a real person and be honest, or like having the opportunity to follow someone who then, a woman, let's say, who then is honest, a Lady Gaga who's honest about her mental health or her body image, and how that's a real point of like a real sore point for her. Hearing that from these people who you look up to and compare yourself to, hearing them be like, yo, I struggle with this, is, hello, it's everything.
Yeah.
Everything, because that happens so much. We compare ourselves with women, but then if you can just remember that, like, oh my gosh, where's the line between comparison and then making yourself hating yourself? Where's that line? Just like not getting to that line, but getting to a point of, I think you're beautiful and you think I'm beautiful, and hearing that from that woman's mouth, and like, we have to come together. It's important.
We do. It's so true. And it's, you know, I won't even get into all the problems that I feel like we face as women, and just the fact that even like beauty is so subjective, right? Like it's just, and the fact that that is what for so long we have been defined by, I just think now is such an interesting and important time where there are these incredible women out there that are really giving all of us a voice and saying, you know, there's more than one way to be beautiful, and giving each other that space, I think is huge, you know, because I think ordinarily we as women are told not to take up too much space. You and I have talked so much about that, about how women are told to be small, and that's not just physically, but emotionally as well. And I have loved like seeing amazing women take up space. And I think you're doing that. And, you know, it's just amazing to like be in this time where I think we're so aware of what needs to change. And there are people out there really trying to make that happen. Like I think it's a beautiful time.
It is, but it's still like, it needs to go further.
Right.
There's this lyric I have in a song that we have on the album. it goes, oh wait, shoot, something else is playing that. Let me just think about it for a second. Hang on. It's something about, I may be insecure, but every girl I see is beautiful, and it's simple. They don't all see me. So it's like, that's the thing, is like feeling like other women are seeing you. Oh my God, that's like so important to one's feeling of validation. I hate that I need validation, but like, and so I think that we have to go somehow a little bit further. Celebrity, the whole celebrity thing, like, yeah, we're getting a little less distanced from them because of Instagram and stuff, but still, out of the thousands of people who wanted to ask that celebrity a question while they were doing their home interviewing, that celebrity didn't get to them, or is answering something in a bit of an aloof way. Like, it's a weird time to be living in.
Yeah, it so is. Well, and I want to, talk about you a little bit. I've always admired the way that you have made ends meet. You struggled financially during your time at Juilliard. Like, can you talk about that? Someone like what that was like building a life in New York, and also being, being a student from a foreign country. Like, what's that like for you, dealing with immigration and finances and just all of that? Like, what a crazy time to be dealing with immigration.
Oh my God, I'm getting stressed about this. Yes, this is one of the things that defines me, unfortunately, is my how do you stay in a place that you've made your home? I don't know how much I can even say on this interview, just because there's, who's gonna see it? But making ends meet is very difficult, especially in the way that immigration law dictates. So you have to, on my OPT, which is what I'm on right now, optical something like that. Yeah, something professional training, which means you're allowed to work in your field after
in the arts is hard. That's not easy. She can't just go be a waitress unless she's a singing waitress.
No, I can't go be a waitress. I can't go do things that, so I was, I tell you that I was an assistant in a kids theater class, and that's as close as I can get to doing something that is, so it's sort of administrative, but it's also creative, and it's my field because it's theater.
Right.
But those are the kinds of things I had to seek out, which I'm still seeking out. Everything's come to a sort of crashing halt at the moment, obviously. But who knows? Liv, who knows about 2 months from now, 3 months from now? This online life is becoming the future, and in a way, that's not why we released the album. But I'm super focused on how to generate income from releasing music online. I've been watching so many videos, it's so time consuming, but as I said to you, we have all the time and we have no time, because if you have all the time, you can do everything.
I just feel like, in WALL-E, the cartoon, it's everyone is just virtually engaged, they're literally driving past each other with their virtual screens. I'm literally scared that that's what's happening, because there's nothing else, what social distancing.
My eyes, I can't read things on screens anymore because my eyes it's screen fatigue. I'm not even kidding. It's blurry, and look, things have become blurry over the past few years. I should get glasses, but it's so bad. Last night I was reading subtitles on. We were watching, oh my god, we were watching this documentary, Netflix documentary, Tiger King. Oh, you should watch it.
Oh, did you actually? I saw that. I will watch that. Okay.
It's mind-boggling. And there's subtitles, and I was like, yeah, it's crazy. We should get special reading glasses. Those exist? Just kidding, of course they do.
The things we millennials have to deal with.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
There's so much I want to talk to you about. I don't know if it's all like screen appropriate, but like, what else?
Oh,
I've
I wanted. Well, I mean, you decided to audition for Masters, right? Like for Juilliard, that was a decision that you made to reapply and audition. And it's worth it to mention, you know, the voice program went through a pretty terrible time. Our final year at Juilliard, my teacher passed away suddenly, and your teacher was suffering from cancer and ended up in a rehab facility and had to leave school. So you essentially didn't have an advocate on the panel. What was that whole experience like, and how has that shaped your journey and what you're doing now? Like, you know, how would you define that time in your life?
Spot on. It certainly shaped my journey in a crazy way. By the end of my 4th year, I was pretty convinced that I had found like a niche in the opera world, contemporary classical stuff, and it was like, I need to go further with this to be recognized and respected, and I need to expand my repertoire. Like, so I need to expand my repertoire so much. I still feel that way. But I was pretty much like, okay, Masters is the next thing, and I'm honestly committed to this, and I can see myself going further with this. And that was amazing, given like all of the doubt I had throughout the course of my studies, right? I was like, I can't believe I'm actually feeling good about wanting to do a master's like that. It was mind-blowing. And then, you know, yeah, Marlena got sick pretty soon before the auditions, like 3 weeks or so. Or
Yeah, it was
like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So suddenly, I was no longer accountable to someone. It's crazy to realize what like having a teacher in your life who you see every week does for you. It's this like weekly focus thing of like, okay, you have to have 2 to 3 pieces prepared to work on. It keeps your motor going, it keeps you sort of on your track. And that went away, man. I was on my own, and I kind of loved it. But I also think, especially after I didn't get into the master's program, I think it completely made me go, okay, 180. Like I feel like I lost that drive. Like it kind of went further and further away as I didn't have this person who I was having to report to every week. I think I wasn't singing as much. I remember the Chautauqua summer program I did. I was Puck, and Marlena wasn't there, and I didn't have lessons with her, and I didn't really care to have lessons with other people at that point. So I was like, I'm not even really interested at this point in my life to be singing. It was such a surreal experience. I had lost faith in other people's faith that I could do this. So I went, you know, fine, I'll do something else. Things have changed a little by now. Like, again, obviously they keep changing, but I think it shaped it made me realize that I'm the only person who I'm responsible for doing what I believe in, and I'm the only one who can judge if that's good enough. I am my judge. And if I really believe in something, I should go after that. And I've kind of found that now in this in this interim between schools and like this time, this pandemic time, should we just tell everybody? I released an album with my partner Blake Habermann. We're called Lune, Ball/Lune, like lunar, like the moon.
Because for those of you that don't know, Joni
in French.
Partner is literally a professional mime and like he literally studied at, is it called the Mime Institute in Paris? And I mean, he's just this incredible.
It is called L'ecole. It's not really for men, but here you go. Look, he's juggling. Come out, baby.
I'm not a performing monkey. I'm here with my foil.
That's our experiment. We're working on a piece of theater that involves foil.
I love that. Well, I mean, I have nothing but good things to say about Blake. He actually directed Joni and I. Well, he was the, what was his official title?
He was the movement director.
Movement director.
For
for a show that we did at Juilliard where Joni and I were supernumeraries, meaning we had speaking roles, but we didn't actually sing. And it was 2 roles in La Finta Giardinera, it's Mozart. They were roles that were added so that Joni and I could be a part of it by our amazing director, Mary Birnbaum. And we learned so much from Blake. And yeah, it was really cool working with him. And then, you know, Joni made him her boyfriend.
I made him. I did. I was like, this is happening. Get with it, or you know, don't. But
essentially, post-production, of course.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Talk about the album that you guys released and like the process of writing that, because I mean, it's all original stuff. Like, it's all things that the 2 of you have written and literally like produced, and I mean, you've done all of it. Like, what has that been like?
15 months ago, we got a program called Ableton. It's a digital audio workstation. So he and I can do everything by ourselves, even though I only have a little bit of piano chops and a voice, and he can only
has no musical training.
Has no musical training. We can do everything. We can create our own band. So that's why we call it a home studio setup. And we have been working on it for about 15 months. Just like, we were just having fun, man. And then I started getting serious after leaving Juilliard. I was like, okay, I think this is something I really want. I think I want to be like, how about we be musicians who can maybe perform in front of people? We have gear, we can practice the performance part. We have some tunes. And then we started going back. It was a process, but we started going back into some of our songs. We were like, this one's kind of good. Let's work with this. And we went in and like, I re-recorded all of the vocals. And we wrote a few new ones, like days before I actually put it. I signed, I guess, with a distributor. You pay like $20 a year to release as many songs as you can, and we're with DistroKid, and you just like you get to be a verified Spotify artist.
Wow.
If you pay that money, and they like do the distribution for you. And like, I'm totally learning by the seat of my pants. By the seat of my pants?
Seat?
Yeah, the seat of my pants.
Seat. Yeah. Your accent just, you know, we don't know. It's fine.
Like seat. Okay,
it sounds right coming from your mouth, but you could be saying
I'm learning by the seat of my pants how to do this, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it's been challenging to not, like, obviously your first album, like, no one knows us. It's not gonna be anything. That's okay, we're learning. Our musical taste changes daily, and our knowledge of what we can conjure up on Ableton changes daily. And my taste in what I like to hear in my own voice changes daily. It is crazy. But it's disappointing when, like, oh, it's so difficult. You have like this baby that you birthed and you don't know how to tell people about it to make them like it. A few people are so, like, just it's amazing that we have like 9 followers right now and like 29 listeners on Spotify. Do you know how amazing it is knowing who those people are and like having them send you like a little message that says, this is so great, or thank you for that. My heart, like, it's the most beautiful thing. And then I can't help getting sucked into, oh, but that's not a lot of followers. Like, that's only a few. It's a difficult space to be in. Like, should you care that no one, I mean, because, you know, you're putting it out there because you want to share it. So the more people you can share it with, like, obviously that's going to make you happy.
Well, I mean, quality over quantity, you know, and I think it's huge that people are like take the time to like write you a message about your art, because I think
it's huge.
At the end of the day, that's what it's about, right? Being an artist. It's like, even if you can inspire one person, I think you're doing your job. And, you know, maybe that one person really needed to hear it. And I don't necessarily think, this is my own opinion, I don't necessarily think that all of the artists out there today that are, you know, putting out work and are having trillions and trillions of followers are necessarily creating work that is meaningful and impactful in a positive way, or in a way that really, really moves people, you know? So again, quality over quantity, because you're putting something out there that really matters to you and that has a message that you want to send. And I think that that's extremely admirable, and, you know, more followers will come, you know what I mean? It's such a learning process. Like, you've literally never done it before and you did it yourself. It's not like you signed with an agency and were like, yeah, they're going to completely make this album. Like, you literally from the beginning created this piece of art all on your own. And that's insane. That's amazing. And not everybody can do that, you know? And yeah, I just think it's awesome. Like, it's awesome.
Thank you. That was kind of important for us, I think. Again, Liv, it's that thing of like, you know, liking to forge my own path. I respected artists who, if I knew that they were self-produced, it was weird, but it was just like something went off for me that was like, I respect that. They did this themselves. They're not signed with a label. I respect that. That's not to like bring down on people who are signed. Like, that's amazing. Of course, if you can do that, do that. But like, it was like,
that doesn't mean you shouldn't. You know?
Say that again?
If you can't sign with a label, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't still put your art out there, you know?
Exactly. And there are drawbacks to not having a label. People don't know you. And I totally understand why people like hand that work off and pay people to deal with like how to make things, how to put things out there in ways that people will start listening or like click, and like that stuff is so important. I understand why people get paid to do that, but in a way, learning to do it myself is also, why the hell not? It's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And will you talk a little bit about the album itself and like what's the link between the music? Like what's the album's vibe? Like what's
cool.
Yeah.
We call it electronic music, down tempo, also singer-songwriter, because it's got a slight pop thing to it that's not completely pop, but it doesn't completely eliminate it either. And the songs are, in terms of storytelling, they're pretty linked by, there's like a thread, there's a love thread. As someone described it, overall it's a heart-wrenching love story. And each song is I'm literally quoting someone else, someone who like made my life. When she sent me this message about, she listened to the album, she was like, Joni, this is what I think. And she goes, every song is a smoky, it's like a smoky story. And the album as a whole is a heart-wrenching. Anyway, so my mom asked about this. My mom was like, I just hear sadness. the tunes aren't necessarily sad. Some of them are like somber, but mostly they're like they're jivey. Like you're supposed to jive to them with like uplifting. But in terms of the words I'm saying, often, yeah, I write things because they're hard to talk about. So there's sort of no other way to say it than poetically in a song. And even though I've worked through some of that stuff that I talk about, something as simple as like, my head goes wherever it pleases. It's like one of the lyrics in the song, and that refers to like, I have like some jealousy issues and like working through that stuff. Yeah, it's like capturing little parts of yourself that you want to work on, and then like putting it out there and hoping that someone else understands that and maybe feels like we were talking about women empowerment, like that person also feels like, oh, she's not crazy, I'm not crazy, I also feel this. You know, it makes me feel better to be able to write something that I know possibly I'm going to share with someone who will then relate. It's a weird thing, artists wanting to share stuff, but like, it's so real.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what do you think, like, what is your artistic footprint? Like, what do you want to leave the world with your art, you know?
Jacques Lecoq said, life isn't enough for artists, so we create another more beautiful for ourselves and for others. As well. I mean, yeah.
That's
right?
kind of it.
That's kind of it, right?
That's it.
Let's use that one, 100%. That's the thing, I can't put it in my own words because that's not good enough, so yeah.
Wow. Well, is there anything that you want to leave people with? You know, is there anything that you want people to know about you before we end?
I want to leave you with this sick beat right here. Can you hear it now? All the oxygen from my rib cage flows into another world I can't control.
And on that note, no, seriously, thank you so much for talking to me this afternoon and giving me some inspirational things to think about during this time of quarantine, and for sharing your soul and your art. And I'm definitely going to put a link to your Spotify, Ball Lune.
Oh yeah, girl, these two, yeah.
Or it's on iTunes too, yeah? Yeah,
it's on Google Play, iTunes, Spotify.
Well, I think you should like say something in Afrikaans to say bye.
Oh, okay. I'll say Olivia McMillan, my beste maatjie in die hele wêreld. I'm speaking like a 5-year-old. No. Sy is die mees amazing vrou, mees amazingste vrou. It's like the superlative is difficult. En ek verlang vreeslik baie, want sy is in Georgia en ek is in New York. En ons was baie goeie vriende en ek wil haar promote. Sy is besig om 'n interview met my te doen en she's promoting me, maar ek wil haar promote want sy is die inspirerende een. So I just said, Olivia Millen is my favorite person, it's my best girl's friend, and I am inspired by her because she is, like, we're talking about me, but she's really the one who is inspiring, and you're the one who's empowering us. So thank you.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you.
I love you, girl.
I love you too.
Good luck with the rest of these. What you're looking for is white African.